Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of the Black Badge, a Winona Earp fan podcast. I'm Kevin Bachelder.
And I'm Bonnie Ferrar, and we are live from Acon in Toronto. Woo!
Thank you, everyone, for coming out here. We're going to have a lot of fun. By a show of hands, how many of you, this is your first Earp Con?
Oh
Look at that. I love it.
There's
Most
so
of you.
many.
Oh, welcome, welcome. That is so great to see.
That makes me excited.
Yeah, that makes me happy. I love when we see things like that. So hopefully you're having a good time, and we're going to have a lot of fun here, just kind of going with the flow. We've got a couple of things planned here, but we've also going to leave some time at the end if you have questions or topics, and we have a couple that were submitted ahead of time, too, that we'll touch on. So this is a very interactive session. Feel free, throw a hand up at some point, and we'll be glad to talk about almost anything. We want to start with a little bit of a special something for you folks, so we're going to welcome up Bridget Liszewski from the TV Junkies.
B-Train.
Hi.
Hi, Bridget. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're always so busy at cons, we barely get a chance to get you on the live ones, so I figured I'd take a shot.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, always a blast. I figured what we might have some fun, because a couple folks have asked about this, is maybe touch for a few minutes, because I know you have another commitment you have to go to, but...
Kevin's being very nice. He's letting me go to my Danny Kind autograph.
I thought it might be a little fun for us to talk a little bit about getting to moderate cast panels at the conventions. Since we've all had the opportunity to do that in the last couple of years, and not a lot of folks do, and it's a really special thing. So I thought maybe we'd touch a little bit on that. I'd just be curious, Bridget, I think you got the chance to do the first one. Well, you started. You were the first one to do one, weren't you? Fan Expo?
Yeah, I guess. That was so long ago. That was like 3.5 years ago now, maybe. I don't know.
Lifetime ago.
I know. And I was like, what? Moderate? Sure, I'll figure it out. No, it is. You guys talk about it. It's a big honor to get to do it. And every time I do it, I think, what would the fandom want to ask? Like, that's like my biggest thing is like, and it gets harder and harder, right? Because we have so many cons now and everybody's so great. So we've had so many panels and we've got to see the cast talk so many times. So it gets harder and harder to think like, what can we ask them that we haven't asked yet, and things like that. But no, it's a great honor, and it freaks me out every time I do it, and I get so scared and nervous. But I will say the fandom really makes it so easy to get up there and do it, because you guys are so supportive all the time. Mm-hmm. That helps a ton, knowing that the Earpers are a safe space, and they're not going to judge me up there too hard. I'm probably the biggest judge. Will be myself judging me. So,
How about you, Bonnie?
Well, I got to do my first panel last year at Acon. I hadn't had a chance to moderate until then, and I got to do the villains panel. And I was super, super nervous. I love being in front of a crowd, so that was okay. And if you had just given me a mic and said, get up there and like chat, I would have been like, sure, no problem. But because you were on a panel with like these people that you see in the series, so I had, Danny Kind and Megan Heffern and Kate Drummond, I was really nervous, and you don't know what the dynamic is going to be. And especially with some of the really outgoing and funny cast members, and then you've got some more quieter ones. So it's always a challenge to make sure your questions aren't just geared towards like one person on the panel. You want to make sure that you get everybody involved. And there's definitely some guests that are a little bit of a wild card, like Danny Kind, and so you're like, okay, what is she gonna do? And sure enough, like at Earp Expo, like she turned the tables on me, and I knew it was coming. Like I just knew it was coming because she's so amazing. But yeah, she was basically like, well, what about you, Bonnie? What's your warning label? And of course, as the moderator, you're like, I didn't get that. I don't know. But it's really
when
fun.
that happened to you, I was like, note to self, any question I come up with, I need to make sure I know mine.
Yes.
That's what we all learn from each other.
Thanks, Bonnie, for taking one for the team.
Yeah, it would have been good to think about that ahead of time. Like maybe I should have the answers to my own questions, like in my head, just in case the cast asked me. But that was a really special moment. And since then, I've had the opportunity to moderate several panels at different Earp cons. And like Bridget says, you get nervous before every single one. Just My biggest fear is, what if I run out of questions? Like, and especially if we're
I have so many outlines.
yeah, like we have so many questions, but sometimes like you're
That's
sitting
my
there,
biggest fear too. That's my biggest fear.
yeah, you've got like way more questions than you need, but there's always the fear that like you're going to get like one-word answers for some of them, and then you're going to be like check. And then like I think one panel, I think Kevin, you were doing it. You said he had like a whole bunch of questions, and the cast just started talking, and as they were talking, he was like, check. They were like talking about all his, and he's like, oh no, like they're already answering all these questions that I had planned to ask. So that could be a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, more than. For me, the first, talking about going all in on the deep end, the first one I ever did was at Dragon Con 2017. And that, Dragon Con being the big convention, there were like 2,000 people in that room. So I've gone to Dragon Con for many, many years and been in the audience and all, but when you're standing up on the stage looking out on 2,000 people, that is a different experience completely. But I have to say, what really helped me at that convention a great deal was when they introduced me as the panelist, the round of applause I got from the Earpers just really took a lot of the nerves and just like, I'm in front of friends, and it's the same way with the cast. We joke about them going in different directions on us, but you've all heard them. You know how comfortable they are, and we're comfortable with them. So it's just more that, as Bridget said too, it's the responsibility I feel to want to have a good panel, good questions that maybe haven't been brought out or topics and so forth. And then we have a panel like I had the full cast panel at the end of ACON last year, when all of the cast was super tired and giddy and wearing their rainbow onesies. And I tried to ask Dom and Tim a question, and all they did was look at me and go, oh, I think I'm on the podcast. What did you say, Kevin? And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a different kind of panel, isn't it? And then all those serious questions I had, like Bonnie talked about, I'm like, they ain't going to work on this one. I better start bringing out the fun stuff. So that's the thing, is when a tone changes too.
Yeah.
Like when you did that panel at Erpapalooza, the really powerful one with the ladies. I mean, and that's the same way when I brought out some stuff like the Mel and Dom Erp Sister panel at Erp Expo. That is some, when it gets emotional, and then it's hard kind of stay in the moment and not lose yourself.
Yeah, but you don't want to switch gears too fast either. So in the ladies panel, like I had these, I wanted to stick with the theme. And I thought, ladies of purgatory, women, maybe we should talk about being a woman on the show and the representation and the responsibility and just in the world and just, so I had some questions and I wanted to lead with those. But then I had a ton of really fun, like goofy questions. And as the panel was shaping up, I couldn't just follow up, like, Emily being like, you are enough. And it could be like, okay, if you were going to be a superhero, so like I had to sort of like really pay attention to what they were talking about to try to keep that, because it was just such a powerful moment that I didn't want to lose it in just what I had down. So like a lot of the questions weren't really scripted. They kind of came from. And you can watch the video, it'll be fun. You can watch the video and you can see my face. I'm in the panel, they're talking and I'm looking at my notes and I'm like. And then you can see the moment when I find a little something in my notes to do the next question, because I go, yeah. and then I sit back like I got it, But it's you're constantly going and like Kevin and Bridget said, being in there and you look out on the faces of the Earpers and just seeing people smiling back at me or nodding or having fun. I think that calms me down a lot, because I'm like, okay, like this is going well,
Mm-hmm. Now I know it's funny, we were talking that. Bonnie and I might use our phones. You're more of a paper person for your questions.
Because I get nervous. Like said she was scrolling and scrolling. I could just see me being like. So I just write long outlines and print it all out, and I'm old school, I guess.
But I did that because I didn't have a printer. Like my printer broke the first time, so I had no choice but to have it on my phone. And then once you do it once, now it's like superstition. Now I'm like, if I print it, I'll lose the paper. Something bad's gonna happen. So yeah.
And that's where I'm curious. Again, we have a blast doing it, but we also overanalyze ourselves to make sure we do a good job. When I went back and watched that
I never watch mine. You guys, I can't watch mine.
I'm not saying I'm comfortable doing it, but I do because I want to see, focus just on myself because the thing that came out, the ACON one last year, I did use a printed sheet. I don't know, well, also the way that one was set up, the moderator was on like a separate chair on the side, so I felt kind of like exposed to be sitting there with my phone rather than at least like on the table. But the thing was, and because of the way that one turned into just a goofy fun panel, I saw myself with like 3 sheets going, turning the sheets over, and I'm like, oh, you look like an idiot, Kev. So, that's me picking on myself there. But the thing with the phone or the sheets that you got to be careful of, and any of you that saw the Earth Sister panel, is when you lose your place and just start babbling, and Melanie jumps in and boom, with the sexual innuendo jokes. So, you got to be ready for that. As, Bonnie was saying, this cast has so much fun with us, sometimes tables get turned pretty fast.
Yeah.
And now, have you had one, Bridget, that you just remembered that one just feels like it flowed so well?
I don't know. I black out during all of them.
There is a little bit of that blacking out.
No. Last year at Fan Expo, Melanie was doing tons of sexual innuendos, and she just looked at me and she was like, "You said yes to this," and I was like, "I know." I was like, "Go ahead." I don't know. I will say the first Klexicon, I was really scared at that one because it was huge, and that was the first time that was that event, and I knew it was really important. It was really important to the show. It was such an important con. But I felt like when Kat Burrell started like running across back and forth doing that, I was like, okay, we did a good job on this one. And I felt so much better. But that wasn't probably anything that I did. It's just they're so great. So it's hard. They make it hard to mess up.
That is true, yeah.
Well, the Ladies of Purgatory panel it will always be in my head as this like magical moment that I was privileged to be a part of. I listened to that panel, and it's the only thing I can listen to that I'm on, including the podcast, that I don't pick myself apart. Like, I don't even see myself. I see like this lucky person on stage who gets to be a part of that. It doesn't feel like me, but I remember being there. But in the moment, it was so powerful. And the only thing that kept going through my head as it was going on is I knew, and we've had moments like this on the podcast with interviews with the cast where you just know what you have is so special. It's coming out like not any way you could have scripted it at all because of the cast and how amazing they are at sharing themselves and their emotions and their thoughts and themselves with us. But like, it was the better you think it's going, the more pressure you start to feel as the panel goes on, because you're like, don't mess this up. Like, it's, don't ask the wrong question, don't break the mood, don't. But when I look back at that panel, that like I said, it doesn't even feel like me because they were so powerful and amazing, and I was just basically there. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
no, totally. Totally.
So a little bit of blacking out, like Bridget said.
Yeah, it is a bit of a blur once it gets started. You have that panic of, do I have enough questions? And then once things start rolling, the time just does kind of go. I don't notice it as much because then I'm trying to lead off what they're saying or stick to what I have on my list and see where it goes. But also similar to that DragonCon moment as far as feeling comfortable, the same thing kind of happened last year at ACON's panel, the closing one, because I think we started a couple of minutes late, nothing tremendous, but I was up here just kind of waiting, and they had told me, the people backstage, they're not here yet and they're coming soon. And then I waited and was like figuring something out. Oh, we did the auction thing that was going on. So then I got the tap that, yes, they're there. So I wanted to go back to say, okay, it's about time, we're going to start. So when I opened that door back there and all of them are standing there in those onesies, that was another one of those, okay, everything's going to be fine. This crazy group will be okay. It just totally broke the mood and made it a lot more comfortable.
Well, I know a fun moment was last year at ACON when I asked the duck and horse question, and Melanie just stared daggers at me for like 10 minutes. But she was thinking. But I could see it, but that was fun.
Yeah, at last year's Villains panel, since it was my first one, I was super nervous, and I was backstage. And I mean, just butterflies, and do I have to go to the bathroom again? Like all these things. And Danny walked up, and Kate Drummond and Megan, and they were all just so like, hey, what's going on? And Kate was like, we're rocking our Converse, and they're taking selfies. And I think just that energy and just feeling like, okay, like I got this. This is just like an extended version of the interviews that we do. I think that was a really like calming moment for me, and I was able to go out on stage. But I think I still kind of shook during my intro a little bit. Like I was like, yeah.
Do you folks have any specific questions about this at all? Quiet herpers, that's unusual.
Yeah.
Got the mic coming up for you.
Do you feel like maybe it's just this cast that makes it so that you guys can do this? Do you think with like a different set of actors that it would flow differently, or that you wouldn't get the same investment in answering the questions?
I've been really lucky because I've also moderated panels for the Killjoys cast. But I always say if there's anyone that's close to like the Winona Earp cast, it's the Killjoys cast. It's probably because it's a Canadian thing or something. But and they're really easy. And I had like 9 of them on a panel. I think it was really big, and I was really nervous. And they made it as a really safe space. So I've been lucky. I've kind of only been in situations where I've had that. But I think with all of them, they want to make it a really good panel too. Like they want to make sure the fans, like they know the fans are here and you guys are giving your time and money. And so I mean, I do think the Winona Earp cast is special, and I feel very safe with them, but I've been lucky to also have other good experiences with Killjoys.
Yeah, last year at DragonCon, I got to do a Killjoys panel, just a couple of the cast members, and they were both, very nice. And having gone to DragonCon for many years and being involved with some of the tracks, I'm able to be backstage sometimes when they're getting ready to do some of the guest panels. And almost all the actors I've seen seem very nice and all, and they are once they get out on stage too. But yeah, there is something. Again, folks, we don't know always what it is. There is just something very special about this group that just makes you and them so comfortable that it's not an us and them, and that's what makes it easy, certainly doing the panels. I don't have to feel like, although maybe yesterday I was a little nervous first time doing one with Megan because everybody talks about her as Canadian royalty.
Have you seen Anne of Green Gables? She is
It's reactions
royalty.
like this why I get nervous, okay?
Yeah.
But that one is only because I hadn't
Keeping you in
worked with
line
it.
all the time, Kevin. You're welcome.
Yes, see? This is what I have to work with. But yeah, they are. It's just, this cast is just something else. And it also helps that we have all also done other interviews with them, with a podcast, or Bridget with the written one too. So there's got to be a comfort level there for them too, that they know us. That certainly probably helps too.
Yeah, for me, I haven't done any other panels moderated with any other casts, but it definitely helps that I feel comfortable with them and that they feel so comfortable with me. I think that enables me to ask questions that I may not have thought of or may not feel comfortable asking to another cast that I didn't know so well. I think it also enables them to sort of open up maybe in a different way than they would if it was somebody that they didn't know. We've done a lot of interviews with them, so that I think that they trust us a little bit in that sense. But the very first interview that we ever did with Kat, it was our very first interview ever, and like I wrote on a piece of paper next to me, "Don't talk too much," because when I get nervous, like I talk a lot, and it's like, this is an interview I'm supposed to be doing. We're here to hear her, and I was nervous for all of 7 minutes maybe.
A couple, yeah.
She was so great and wonderful and like just easy that I remember telling him, it was like I was talking to a friend, And I think that that's how this cast has always been, even before we really knew them, as well as we do. But I just feel incredibly lucky every time.
Yeah, it really is. And some folks have asked me that, certainly now that I've got to do many of the panels and stuff. Does it get old or routine or whatever? And I'm like, hell no. I mean, this is just special every single time, to be able to do it. Well, Bridget, I know you have other things you're committed to. We appreciate you taking a few
I love
minutes.
you, Kevin, but you're no Danny Kind.
I'm not Danny. I'm no DFK. I know. But we appreciate you coming.
No, thank you. Thanks, Bonnie, for having me too. Appreciate it. Bye, guys.
All right, we'll see you later. Now, we also have another wonderful guest to join us today, so please welcome out Greg Lawson.
Hi.
I like your shirt.
Well, thanks for coming on with us, Greg.
Thank you for having me. Is this on? It's not on. But the green light's on.
There we go.
Oh,
There we go. We got you.
That's what I said.
I'm just going to move it around. No, it's on. I'm going to use my radio voice for this one. I understand you like Madonna. Sorry. You probably have a couple of questions. You weren't expecting me to ask a question.
We just talked about getting surprised. I did not expect to be asked about Madonna. I will say that. Yes, I am a fan. Rather obvious from anyone who was at the after party last night. Okay.
Yeah. See how nice I was? I didn't elaborate. I just started it. You know?
Now I'm worried that there are photos or video of that out there. So.
Yes. Please tweet them.
So, Greg, we're curious to hear some of your thoughts now. You've had a chance to go to a couple of conventions. What's it been like for you?
Embarrassing and awkward. No, in truth, I've said it before. It's hard to really describe. I'm an introvert. I'm more comfortable not being extroverted. That doesn't mean I don't like having fun. So when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just make the choice to be myself and hope for the best. I think that's kind of a good motto for people in general, humanity. Just be yourself and hope for the best. It's really all you can do. I love meeting you guys. I'm better on a one-on-one, like if I'm in the elevator or if I'm walking through the lobby. I'm better that way. But it's been years since I've been in front of people, like as a group, and it's been a while since I've done live theater. So I get a little nervous. I don't know why, but I don't like having my picture taken. I picked an odd profession. But I remember those Christmases, where you open up your presents and Mom says, "Oh, it's picture time." Oh, and you have to pose. And I was in San Diego, and there's these professional photographers. Okay, there were 4 gorgeous women who have gorgeous wardrobe. They have a hair person. They have makeup people. And then there was me, in my Wranglers. And the Hawaiian shirt that all my friends said, "Why did you wear that?" They went, "It's not slimming." But, I have my picture taken, and, have professional photographers, they help you pose, and they say, "Oh, laugh, but don't have any sound come out. So laugh, and now pretend you're biting an apple, and wave at a bird while you're holding an apple, kick a little dog through a hedge," and they give you all this help. So I just said, I only have one look. That's my James Bond look. That's what I'm going to do. And it just looks like my stomach's upset. So I'd rather be on set. And if I'm not on set, then I'd rather just meet you guys in the elevator. I'm being honest. Oh, you probably paid to be here. So no, panels are good. I'm talking, and talking.
Doing great.
The interviews are okay. I don't mind those. I like them. It's just, wearing a tie and putting on a suit. And I was at the Entertainment Weekly party, and I tweeted this. It was a big party. It was like a Hollywood, schmollywood, fancy, schmancy, famous people. You didn't have to pay for anything. And there was a swimming pool. And I wore all black because I learned the lesson from the Hawaiian shirt, and black is slimming. And I'm standing in the corner wearing all black, and I didn't talk to anybody, but if you do that long enough, people start walking up to you and talking to you. And because they think you're a producer and you can hire them. Well, they think, who the hell is that old guy sitting in the corner? And he's wearing all black, that means he's rich. That means he's got to be important because he knows what's slimming. And so these people come, and this one guy came up to me while we were smoking cigarettes. You shouldn't do that. It's really bad for you. It's bad. But television stars do it. No, I'm kidding. But he came up with this cigarette, and he looked at me, and he gave me this. He held up his cigarette, and he looked at me. And I went, what the hell? I went, do you want a light? And he said, oh. And I lit a cigarette, and we talked for 40 minutes. And about acting, so he was an actor too. And then when he walked away, 2 security guys folded in behind him, and I realized that guy's famous. and I didn't know who he was. But it made total sense out of how he was asking for a light. He was going, do you recognize me? He was giving me that look, and I went, what the hell? But we had a great conversation, and I had a really good time, and I still don't know who he was. I have no idea. He looked like a young, that Dean Morgan guy on Walking Dead, the bad guy, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, is that his name? Mm-hmm. He looked like a young him, but it wasn't him. Also, somebody help me out.
You're gonna get tweeted like 100 pictures of different. Is this him? Is this him? Is this him?
You can't do that. No, because you can't. Because if he sees it, no, look, you can't do that. Oh, if he sees it, I'm in trouble. He's gonna go, that idiot, Oh, you can't do that.
Well, this is a podcast that's going out on the internet, Greg. So
no,
hopefully he's not a listener.
Oh, you can't do that. Oh, this is going to be seen by people? Like besides these people? No, because I think I told him I was Mark Hamill. No, I'm kidding. But I told some bartenders that last night. I was over in the rib place, and all really nice people. I couldn't pay for a beer. I would go with me. I have my tab list. No, they've already been bought for you. And I went, oh, I hate it when you guys do that. It makes me embarrassed. And the bartender said, oh, I wonder who that person is. And I said, I'm Mark Hamill. Have you seen the Star Wars movies? They didn't believe me because I was standing too close to them. I guess. Do you guys want to say something? Because
How do I follow that up? I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry, we're out of time. I didn't tell him. Oh, you can't tweet that. Well, can the internet stuff, that stuff that goes on, can that be erased? Oh, it's too late.
I think it's live streamed, so it's way too late.
He was a super guy, and I'm glad now I'm going to try to fix it. He was a super gentleman and probably a very talented actor. And of course I recognized him, but legally I'm not allowed to divulge his presence.
It was good.
That's good.
It works, yeah.
Did the radio voice sell it? Or?
It did.
Okay. Right.
That's why Kevin uses it.
Okay.
Now, you are scheduled to be a guest at a couple more conventions this year, so I guess it really is something you're enjoying too, then.
No, I'm just, you know what it is I honestly don't have any words for it because you guys are awesome. But the one thing that I'm super duper excited about is the genuineness of it. It's not show busy, phony stuff. It's a genuine meeting of people, and no one's really afraid to be themselves. You know what upsets me a little bit, makes me a little teary-eyed, is when I read on Twitter, that's that thing on the internet, when I read on Twitter about someone saying, I was standing in line, but I got too nervous and I had to drop out of line. I feel like messaging them, or finding them and saying, well, geez, I'll just mail you stuff. Because there's no reason to be nervous. Certainly not of me. Maybe Tim, but no, I'm kidding. But there's no reason to be nervous. We're all just people. It would be great to bump into that nervous person in the elevator and hold up a cigarette and go, do you recognize me?
Oh my God, it's Mark Hamill.
Yeah. Actually, when I'm in Calgary, I'm recognized. People go up and go, I know you. You're on television. And I go, yeah, Nedley, Winona Earp. And they go, no, Heartland, Clint, the fat guy. I go, yeah. They go, you look smaller in person. I go, thank you very much.
Now, we totally have to work out a system now at the next con, though, Greg, that some of us are going to have to be a few paces behind you and to get those people who look at you, think they know you, and we're going to just say, hey, that was Mark Hamill, and
I
see
know.
what happens.
I'm going to start a whole thing. I'm going to get sued, just like a real Hollywood person. I was the Calgary Film Festival was my first panel, and I was nervous as heck, and I met this fella outside, and I was talking to him, and I said, where are you from? And he said, England. And I went, oh, so you're on vacation in Canada? You're going to see... He goes, no, I flew over here for the panel. And I went, what? You flew all the way over here just for this panel? Because it's like a couple hours, dude. And he said, yeah. But the next thing I know, the first convention I was invited to was the Urbicon UK. Mm-hmm. And not to put a bummer on anything, because it's okay, but my father passed away last year, and he was 93 years old, and that's why it's okay. But he was born in a little town in Ireland, and my mom is also 93. I'm going to go visit her after this. But that invitation to Urbicon UK gives me an opportunity that I wouldn't have normally had, which is to fly to Belfast, get on a bus, go to Portavogie, where there's nothing but a little restaurant and about 6 churches, and take some pictures for my mom. And that's what I'm going to do. And if you Wikipedia it, that's a thing. It's like a thing where you get all this information. One of the family names that started that town is Lawson. So I can walk around and go, I'm a Lawson.
You can walk around and go,
Yeah. Yeah. I can go into the restaurant and have a beer and go, I'm a Lawson. Do I have to pay for this? No, I'm kidding. But I'm only going to go for the day because, seriously, there's nothing there. And relatives, my mom says, oh, maybe you can. I go, oh, Mom, I'll show you pictures of Portavogie. Believe me, if there are any relatives, they're not living there anymore. They've moved away. They're in Belfast or something. So it's too hard to. I'm not a detective. I just play one on TV. I can't really find them. But it's going to be enough just to go.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. It's going to be an experience.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time to sit down with us today, Greg. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sorry I talked all the way through.
No, you were wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
okay, so who's dressing as Jedi for the next photo shoot with him? There's lightsabers. We can do it up. Princess Leia hair. Let's do it.
And another great example of when you do an interview, you never know what you're going to get, right? Ask one question, and that's all we had to ask.
He's so funny. I love him.
Well, that was a real treat when we got to do the podcast interview, when we finally got that one set up, because there was just so much fun listening to him. And as you heard, if you listen to that one, going on his tangents and the whole carrot cake and all the other stuff that has come out, it's just been amazing.
Don't mention carrot cake.
Oh. What? We do have, we still have several minutes. Good, I wasn't sure. Again, like we talked earlier, get lost in time just listening to Greg and all there. We had some folks send in some questions that we might want to go to as far as for the panel. The first one we had was one from Jenny D, who wanted to ask us how much time is involved in all of the Wynonna Earp fandom activities that we participate in. Besides a lot.
A lot. No. Definitely a lot. No, it depends on the day, the week. I mean, over the years, my life has changed a lot. The first year of the first season, I was probably putting in, I think if you added it all up, like 6 hours a day, doing the fight for Wynonna, the first season, trying to get season 2, and the no-chill weeks, probably even more than that, 8 hours, And then, a lot changed in my life. I'm a single mom now and run my own business and different things like that. So it pulls me away from social media more than, I'd like, obviously. Luckily, I'm not alone. So Kevin can pick up the slack. And when things get really tough, I've learned to sort of that I do need to take a step back. Sometimes self-care is important. And, there's knowing when to do things and when to put in the effort is hard. Something I've been learning over the years. I don't have to do it all alone. I've got Kevin, I've got Bridget, I've got all you guys, tweeting and doing all the fun stuff. So that's been helpful. I'm still put in a lot of hours a week when my kids aren't home for the summer. The summer's been rough. But it's a labor of love, It's something that we enjoy doing during the season. When the season is going, we put in a lot more time because we're doing podcasts every week, plus we're doing interviews every week, plus we're doing the live tweeting, plus we're doing the Whiskey and Donuts hangout. So just those 4 things right there is at least 10 hours a week of just that stuff. And that's not including tweeting during the day, promoting other people's art, trying to boost different things, different conventions, trying to boost stuff for them. There's a lot of, as my account has grown, I find that that's where I can be most useful now is as kind of a booster, so that people who to get their art out to a bigger group or to get their cool video or the thing that they just did or to boost a con, stuff. So my role has changed a tiny bit since those first days for sure, but lots of time. I don't know, did I answer the question?
I think you did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it does vary based on the part of the year, if we're in hiatus or, as Bonnie pointed out, in season is just insane, but insane in the greatest way possible. It's like Earping all the time. And I'm lucky that where I'm at in my life, my daughters are much older. I don't have near the commitments Bonnie does for time there. And I have a type of a job that while it does take a lot of time to do it, I also have some flexibility. So I can be during the day checking Twitter or planning out some podcasts, taking a few minutes here and there to do stuff, and then in the evenings do a little bit more from the planning point of view. But it's because it's all so much fun. Mm-hmm. It is such a blast. Yes, it's an insane amount of time, but by choice. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've all seen this, certainly those folks that this is your first EarpCon, this energy that you feel, this positivity, we don't have that in the world many places. So I want to do everything I can to foster that, support it, and get as much out there. And that's why we've got so many things to do to prop up and share information on the community. There's so many other folks doing stuff now than when we first were doing, 2016. It's been great, the Rev Watch that we started, the Rewatch. There are so many new ERPers that are being involved now. And it's great. Several folks have stepped up to offer prizes for the giveaways, artists and just other ERPers who are offering items we get folks involved in what's going on. So, yeah, it's a lot, but it's because we absolutely love doing it.
Yeah.
So, and I whenever the ERP ride ends, whenever that day comes when the show is no longer on the air, I want to be able to look back and know that I did everything I possibly could to make it last as long as it could. Mm-hmm. It's just too good not to.
Yeah.
We had a question from ERPaholic. Actually asked this one yesterday. They wanted it both for the parents panel and this one. So if you could have lunch with one person, alive or dead, who would it be, Bonnie?
Okay, so I'm gonna get a little bit sappy. I'm in a long distance relationship, and I spend every day wishing I could have lunch with my girlfriend. So it would be her. Kevin.
How do I follow that?
Sorry. I thought about it. I really thought about it this morning. I was trying to think, and it's the truth. Like, there's no person on earth I would rather have lunch with. Like, honestly. And I do. I wish every day that I could have lunch with her. But, we get a couple days a month, and I'll take it, So, yeah. If you told me, like, guess what? Today you get to have lunch with Rebecca, I'd be like, yes. So.
Oh, that's a beautiful answer. Mine is nowhere near as sappy, but many of you know how much of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan I am, so the chance to have lunch with Sarah Michelle Gellar would probably turn me into a puddle on the floor, but I would, since she doesn't do conventions and things like that, I don't know if I'll ever have the chance to meet her, but so that would be my nowhere near as romantic answer as yours.
Well, we know Mark Hamill now, so maybe he can put us in touch with her.
You can pull that one off. The other submitted question we had was from Anna L., and it's actually for you. She just wanted to know what the truck symbolizes to you.
Oh gosh. Okay. We should have led with this because this could be an entire podcast.
We'll make it one.
The shortened version. I didn't really think about the truck, honestly, in the first season. It was there. It was just her ride. It never stuck out as something. I'm not a truck person. I don't think, oh, look at that truck, When we got the chance to go to Calgary to go to set, when, Allison Baker from IDW is amazing. She took us out, and where they film, we had to be blindfolded. No, I'm just kidding. But it's out in in
the boonies.
Yeah, and there's down these dirt roads, and it's all these turns, and we had no idea where are we going, and we come out of the field, and there's trailers, so okay, trailers, this must be something, and we turned around the trailers, and the first thing I saw was the truck, and that was the first moment that I realized I was there. I was in the world of Winona Earp, and I hit Kevin really hard because he was in the back seat, and I was like, Kevin, and it just and over the seasons, it's kind of become a joke in the fandom, and I like it, but the truck has become to symbolize so much more now to me because it sort of is Winona in a way. The truck it keeps getting beaten up and broken, and people try to kill it, and it's still there. It still keeps going. It's still functioning. And I think throughout the last several years in my life, you can take a lot of bumps and bruises, and you can get a little bit of nicks, and none of us are still look the same as we came out of the factory, we've all had our share of dings, I guess, throughout life. And I really like the fact that the truck is still there. They could have, when there was the accident, they could have scrapped it, and she could have gotten a new truck, or she could have pulled out the motorcycle again or whatever, but they didn't. They smacked some duct tape on it and held the bumper up with some string, and it's still running. So to me now, I think the truck symbolizes the Winona really now, and all of us, in life, just keep trucking, So I like it for a lot of different reasons now, but originally it just meant a lot to me to be a chance to be there on set and to be there with him, and after such a crazy first season and wild ride. So
Yeah, and I remember for me, to
Are you still bruised?
I don't know. I eventually went away, but what didn't was just remembering that pure joy on your face and in your voice. You know, when you've got a friend and they get to do something, and you know, as we get older as adults, sometimes you get a little more detached from things and they become a little more routine. So, you know, to be able to have that childlike excitement of, oh my God, we really are here. This is really it. And yeah, seeing the truck. I think Waverly's Jeep was nearby, and there was a police cruiser, a Purgatory police cruiser. So
Not just any police cruiser.
It was just kind of, yeah. So no, I still remember that and how, you know, you were there. So yeah, it's nice when we have things like that to, just a lightning rod to pull the emotions to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you folks have any questions for us or things you want to hear us talk about? Mike coming.
Hi.
Hi.
So, do you have a favorite joke from the show?
Favorite joke? I still love You Be Scott, You Be Tessa. That made me crack up. There's so many.
Well, one that still sticks always, though, because it was very early, the second episode, Emily's line there about, I don't blow a jobs without a please first. I mean, that's when we were still kind of getting into the show, and I'm like, oh, so it's going to be like this,
That kind of show.
And I like that kind of off-the-wall humor, so that one always kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
Not that they haven't been just as good or maybe even better ones, but that made an impression.
I think there's so many one-liners, and we used to have them up. I used to have, when I had more time, I used to have a line of the week, and people would vote on it and stuff, and they were so great. I would literally like have to cap it at some point because I was almost like, this is the entire script, you know, because there were so many great lines. But like joke, I do like the Scott and Tessa one, but I think more than any verbal joke, it's Melanie Scrofano's face. Like, she can make a regular line, or even like, you know, just seems so funny to me that like I can't imagine anybody else playing that character but her. So.
Yeah.
The breast alligator, that was so funny. Like, yeah. Like, I thought she was saying underwire, like, because she was doing, so I was like, oh, go under the wire, because there was a, you know, and then I realized it was booby trap, but I did not think it was breast alligator. So that, you know, so it's always just that, like, it goes where you just never think it's going to go, you know. And I think it's that unexpected humor that gets me every time when I'm not expecting it.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you. Yay.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Other
Awesome.
questions, folks? Yes. Microphone coming.
Hey, I love your podcast, by the way.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear your take on the setting of Purgatory. Like, what do you think the writers were doing when they named the town Purgatory?
Ooh.
So now that we know there's a Garden of Eden and all, but before that, I do, because we knew there was a hell, right? Because the revenants got sent to hell. And so we had to figure there was an alternate version of, you know, a heaven or some kind of opposite of that. So purgatory being in faith and religion, it's the middle holding place, right? So I kind of always thought that it had to do with that type of thing. But then in a bigger scope, it was all of us, you know, like in this world, like kind of, you know, in between being somebody good or being somebody bad. Like, we're all sort of still on a journey. And so in a way, like maybe in a purgatory sort of way. I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of really weird theories that go through my head, but every time I say one, they're completely wrong. So.
Yeah, and we get to put it in a recording, so people find it years later.
Years later.
Years later, yes. Jolene, good character, definitely. That's, we go out on the limb.
It's just because I like Zoe Palmer, and I was like, surely she must be a good guy on the show. No, she's actually the worst. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I remember in the first few episodes when we heard the town name and then seeing that that's where the curse was and all, it just seemed like, oh, that's right, these folks. We're going to probably see a story where people feel like they are stuck. Mm-hmm. They can't go, and that's what we all, not all, but sometimes talk about in life. You get to your routine and you feel like that's just it. So I kind of thought, like, it'd be interesting to see if they're going to find a way to move beyond purgatory. That's their way of whatever it might be. With Winona coming back to it, Waverly still there. It was just interesting to see that as the setting for what we were going to do.
Well, definitely they're being stuck in a curse, that in a loop that they can't break. The Earps are stuck. Like every generation, they have to go through this process of trying to kill demons and break this curse. So it is a purgatory of such, because they can't break free from it. So.
Any other questions? Oh boy.
Two.
Up here in the front and in the back.
Right here in red stripe.
Thank you for running around the room for us.
Yes.
Sorry, Rose the dog almost got cut off from Cheyenne, so I had to save her.
Hi.
Hi.
All right. I just given this a lot of thought and everything. Now it's just sort of like the whole story is like evolving with each season. Like it's becoming more on a grander scale and everything. Like, what would you personally like to see in season 4?
Oh, we're gonna do a whole podcast on that for sure.
Way Hot Wedding.
You want it in season 4?
Season 4, Way Hot Wedding. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I want Nedley to walk Nicole down the aisle. I thought this through. Yep. Baby Alice comes in, maybe does a little flower girl thing, Come on.
I can't comment on this stuff after you go to these places like this. I mean...
But it won't be like, something's going to happen, right? It's going to be like the demon, something's going to happen, like the Revenant in the cake, surprise, I don't know. It's something, and it never goes the way I want it to go. So I feel very comfortable saying these things because it's never going to happen the way that I think it's going to happen. There's going to be a gnome. There's going to be, But the gnome and his wife could come back. They could be in the audience. Come on, right? Stupid Carl could be there. She made up with the Revenants, right? They were all kind of on the same page to beat Bullshar. So, it would be really cool to be Revenants on this side, Earth on this side.
Yeah, the thing that I love about this show, and have said many times, is I really have no idea where it's going. Yeah. And if you're going to break the curse and have almost everybody in the town disappear, how can I have a clue where we're going to go on any of this? Would I obviously I want to see the Earp sisters reunited. I want to see what that's going to look like. I could see Nedley riding the back of the Harley with Winona with the shotgun.
Yes.
To go get them or something like that. But
Easy rider. He needs one of those handlebar ones. Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't myself mentally go to many of those spots because it's just so much more fun to be surprised as we start to get the stuff. So
I just like to be wrong a lot, so I go there a lot. No, I'm interested. No, but I don't know if we'll get the Way Hot Wedding in season 4, but we will get to meet Valdez. So I'm very excited about Valdez. I'm not going to even try to say if Valdez is good or bad because I'll be wrong. So, but I'm excited to see where Emily goes.
I think we have time for one more question there in the back.
Okay.
Hello. I kind of have two kind of questions. One's really easy. The other one's more thoughtful. First, for the Way Hot Wedding, do you think that Nicole would be more of wearing her police uniform or something a little bit more formal than that? And that was the first question. The second one is where do you see the potential for the show to kind of take on different kinds of mythologies moving forward?
You want to go first?
Well, as far as Nicole goes, I could see the police uniform looking, but I also would just love more traditional to kind of break that purgatory atmosphere part of it. So, the two of them in something more traditional would be, wonderful, instead of a half proposal one.
I want to see Nicole in a suit. And I feel like I speak for the whole fandom when I say that. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
As far as the mythology, since we broke the curse and gave her a sword, I mean, what the heck? I envision the possibility of a very uncomfortable Winona, because she doesn't have what she's had as far as grounding her, if you will, with the curse and her gun and so forth now. And that could be a crisis of identity kind of thing, especially for her. But if there aren't revenants, what is going to be the reason for her or any of them staying in purgatory? Do we have a situation where venues change? There's some reason to go to somewhere else as a group.
Somewhere tropical?
Well, if they think they're in the garden and they think they've got a lead on how you can get in the garden and it happens to be on a sunny beach somewhere, that wouldn't be bad either.
Like Winona finds him in the garden, docks and flip-flops, yeah.
All possible. But I mean, the mythologies are so many possibilities. And there's also that chance, because we've talked about, many of the fans have, is this alternate timeline, alternate reality? What kind of happened? The homestead didn't look shot up when she went back. Is that somehow different? And they're just going to wake up and be back in purgatory with the gun, and we were all just going to watch Emily go, ha ha, got you again. So I haven't thought about those mythologies, at least not for me. I just want to see the Earp sisters reunited.
Yeah, the only thing that confused me, at first I thought maybe it was an alternate reality, like some type of like in Winona's head, or kind of thing. But the fact that Nedley's there is what throws that out the window. But yeah, like we don't know where they are exactly. We assume it's purgatory because it looks like purgatory, but there's a lot of questions. And as far as mythology goes, I don't know. She has the whole there's a lot pointing to some Greek mythology, right? Because she has the necklace, which has some Greek writing on it. She was in Greece at the beginning of the show before she came back. And her stripper name was Aphrodite. So I kind of feel like there's some Greek mythology is going to come into play at some point. But again, Jolene. So take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, so.
Well, we really appreciate all you folks coming out here. Appreciate it very much. It's always a blast getting to do these. I hope you folks have a great con, and be sure to thank all the volunteers and the folks who put this on. They all work very, very hard. All right. Hope you all take care.
Thanks.